Take Through Wrestling Podcast. We're back. It is Thursday, the 18th of August, as we record this. I am recently released from NXT UK, like everybody else on that brand. I am Mikey B. I am joined by producer Jim.
Yo, what's going on? Yeah, we still miss picking on EJ. Like, maybe he'll be back one day. We don't know. If not, we'll still forever miss picking on him. Hi, Craig.
Hey, buddy. Maybe he won't be back.
Maybe he was released.
I don't know.
Nobody
knows.
And of course, we have straight ally on assignment walking Rambo.
Straight?
No,
he's not.
That
Straight
would
people
be.
ally?
Oh, we're straight people ally. Oh.
Can I say two things? One, eventually I'll be on video, so three things. Okay, so one, that. Two,
Not if you don't put a shirt on.
Irish exiting off of his own podcast would be the most EJ thing to do ever. Like if he just never comes back, that would be
He went to go
so
get
earnest.
milk and he never came back.
For real. Damn. And number three, I'd like to do this.
Black?
I'd like to do this right now since I'm on assignment at the moment. I'd like to do this as my best Lee Majors. What was his name? The fuck was the guy's name? That was Tony the Tiger.
What?
On Nitro. He was one of the announcers and he did the voice of Tony the Tiger.
Smoking Lee Marshall?
Lee Marshall, thank you. I couldn't remember his last name.
I was like, Lee Majors. What the fuck are you talking about, Joe?
$6 million man. He was also on Nitro. Come on. But no, let me do this like a Lee Marshall style, like we're on the road now. We're in South Florida and can't wait to see Scott Norton and Buff Bagwell out there, and they're a devious team. And speaking of devious, I hear there's some weasels in the area. Ha ha ha. Back to you, Tony.
I can't believe we just sat through that. I would like a refund.
I want. Yeah.
He always worked in the weasel reference.
Joe, do that. Just do the closing part one more time, please.
Which part?
Where you send it back to Tony.
Back to you, Tony.
He's not wrong.
God.
Damn.
He ain't lying.
Exactly. All right. Before we get to the fun things that we have in store for you this week, of course, our topics, Wrestler of the Week. I guess let's address this one since kind of came out of left field today. Joe sent us in the group chat that NXT UK is no more and we're launching NXT Europe. About 90 minutes later, Ernest sent us the same exact article because Ernest is a moron. And then Jim sent it again just for shits and giggles.
Yes, I did.
So I almost did it, but I was like, you know what? Let me end this joke because Ernest will think we're serious that we didn't know. So I chose not to be the line in the sand for yours truly. NXT UK no more. It was kind of at the end of Heatwave where we saw the not new but new NXT UK champion Tyler Bate show up to basically go belt for belt with NXT champion Braun Breaker.
Now, if he became a black belt master, would he be a masturbate?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about, though, the news of today, and that is that some talent from the NXT UK roster have been relieved of their contractual duties a little while ago. So we'll list them off, and then if there's anyone that you want to talk about in depth, we can. We'll start with, I'm going to say it's Emily, Mark Andrews, former NXT UK Tag Champion, Zaya Brookside, Eddie Dennis, Saxton Huxley, Amir Jordan, Danny Luna, Dave Mastiff, Amelia McKenzie, Primate, Nina Samuels, Shaw Samuels, Sid Scala, former NXT UK Tag Champion Trent Seven, Ashton Smith, Jack Stars, T-Bone, Teoman, former NXT UK Tag Champion Flash Morgan Webster, Wild Boar, and Kenny Williams have all either gone on the record with sources or have come and put it on Twitter, basically that they are no longer under contract to NXT UK. Now, I don't know if that means that they won't be back for NXT Europe whenever that becomes a thing. But I think the big splash in this, and I talked to Jim a little bit about this while we were waiting for Joe to get on, was Xia Brookside, Millie McKenzie, and Trent Seven were the ones that really stood out to me, because I felt that in an era where you can never have too many female members of your roster, it obviously seems like the names that haven't been released from the NXT UK department are current UK champion Miko Satomura, and pulling back the level of kayfabe here, if you're not following our good friend Gunther on Instagram, his girlfriend, part of the UK roster, is Ginny. I would guarantee you she's probably coming over to be part of the NXT roster before Europe starts. So I guess in a world where I thought, there's a chance Toxic Attraction moves on, there's a top chance that, we need a little bit more depth. It was surprising to see the two of them go. But Trent Seven is one that it's shocking because of what he's done with Mustache Mountain and British Strong Style with him, Pete, and Trent or Tyler.
So, can I just put out there a guess?
Sure.
Because wasn't there a report? Like, I'm just connecting things together now. Trying to connect the dots. Wasn't there a report a couple of weeks ago that they were basically going to end up moving any of the, I guess now non-existent NXT UK? Maybe this will be the, I'm going to choose to call it Euro NXT, but maybe this will be the tapings for that. But wasn't there a rumor that they were basically going to end up doing that at the Performance Center here in America? So tying that together, are maybe the people who were released just the people who weren't willing to come on over to the US? Or couldn't?
Well, that was the conversation. Reason? That was the conversation that me and Jim had. Especially somebody like Trent, who, closer to 40,
right?
Not in the same predicament as Tyler and those guys,
right?
But Millie,
he's a great hand, but
sure.
Is that the person that you signed to a 10-year contract and bring to America? Especially if is that the person who wants to sign the contract for 10 years and come to America?
I don't think he would want to relocate for the potential to get released in 6 months,
right?
Or to have to move back whenever the UK or the Euro brand starts.
Right. I think that's the big detail here is, if they're announcing it today, that means it's already been in the works. It's not going to be 3 years from now that this NXT Europe is going to be brought into existence. This is something that's going to be put in place, and probably, I know, Mike, we were discussing, beginning of 2023. To me, at the very latest, middle of 2023. We're probably a year from now. NXT Europe is a real thing and is happening. So the way I look at the series of releases today is look, I know that you could keep people under contract and still allow them to work with other brands over in the UK, but then you're paying them to potentially get hurt on somebody else's dime.
Right.
And right, wrong, or indifferent, that's not the discussion of the day. That's not what WWE is not in that business.
Right.
So to me, I look at this as, hey, we're doing, to me, this is probably one of the few times where WWE can actually be credited for giving people releases, because I don't think this is just like a blindsided deal where you wake up one morning and all of a sudden release, and oh shit, what's happening today? I think this is more, look, we're closing down this brand for now because it's kind of been in disarray since the pandemic. We're going to do some stuff over here in the meantime, and then we're starting up this European brand. But now you have a chance. Go work, do what you need to do, and we'll call you. We'll call you when we're ready, and see where you're at. Some people, they may not that they won't work, but they'll stay truly independent. They won't contract themselves anywhere else.
Sure.
And when WWE calls back again, I think they'll be right back in the fold. Some people may choose to to buy themselves somewhere else, and that's their choice as well. But yeah, for a lot of these people, that they've gotten an establishment with the WWE. Yeah, some people are just at an age where, look, I'm 37 years old. I'm not fucking moving somewhere
Right.
for like a 6-month job where I could potentially get released, out of the blue. And we don't know
Right.
if we're going to see these semi-annual releases in Triple H's WWE. So that's something to kind of be looked at and determined as well as time goes on. But yeah, I don't think there's anything malicious here. I think this is smart business, and I think actually doing right by people.
I would say too, I think the big news in this, like obviously anytime people are being released, that's big news. And establishing, to me, and this might actually go into Mike's topic. Like I'll save a little bit of the commentary, a little bit of the opinion side of what I'm about to say for Mike's topic. But one of the things that I gleaned from this that I found interesting is the announcement of NXT Europe or Euro NXT, whatever I want to call it. So what's interesting to me about this though is, welcome back to like 3 years ago when Triple H was poised to basically take over the entire wrestling world by popping up all of these NXT brands and in theory taking out local competition of independent companies and stuff in different places. And I remember there was a time where there was talk about, global expansion in NXT Japan and NXT Mexico and NXT Europe and all of that. And that kind of died in a lot of ways. That died at, I guess, I don't know, at Vince. Like that was a decision that the powers that be at the time decided, you know what, this is not the direction we're going to go. We're not going to do this.
I think the pandemic helped kill it too.
Yes, the pandemic definitely helped run interference on this for sure. But now Triple H is back in charge, and similar to the way that some of the guys that he signed and kind of made into interesting characters in NXT who got released and are now coming back because he's, in a way, it's almost like he's got something to prove with some of these talents, I feel like, which is why he's bringing them in kind of their NXT roles, whether or not they were kind of ruined already, a la Karrion Kross and stuff like that on the main roster. He's bringing them back in the way he introduced them. He's got something to prove, and he's kind of trying to launch his ideas and stuff. And 3 years ago, his ideas were, let's take over the globe and start up NXTs all over the place. And I think this announcement is the start of that.
Yeah, certainly could be. I don't back to the actual releases. I don't necessarily have a whole bunch of thought about anybody individually. NXT UK is not a brand that I have attached myself to and watched hardly ever. So it's one of those things when one of the UK matches ends up on a regular NXT premium live event, I will watch it, but it's not something I seek out like on a weekly basis. I don't watch the weekly show. But yeah, I think that we do see, like I said, I think we do see when NXT Europe does fire up, I think you're going to see a good portion, if not all, of these talents back in the mix.
Yeah, I would say that that's probably a strong idea that those guys will be making a return at some point. Especially, like I said, the women that were released today, I think most of them probably find their way back once something happens. But I think this is one of those things where, WWE had an opportunity to let them go and do their own thing for a couple months while they pick the pieces back up. So I don't think that this one is as much as, screw WWE, as much as it's them looking out, letting talent go work and make extra money and stuff like that. Because they could pay them just to sit there and do nothing. Obviously, as a multi-billion-dollar company, they have that ability. But they were trying to look out for them.
Valid, yes.
Hello, sir. Magnum is letting us know that there's somebody walking by my house door. All right. So who wants to go first? Let's start the actual topics of this thing.
Oh,
do we want to?
If we don't have an exact direction, I say let's spin the wheel.
Hold on, Jim. What were you saying before we
I was going to say, I know Joe had kind of started dipping his toes into your topic, Mike. I don't know if we just want to go directly into that or if we literally want to spin the wheel.
All right, I mean, we can go to mine. That's fine. Joe kind of opened up Pandora's box. We can kick that door in.
I spread the labia.
My topic for this week's episode.
I guess more for me, accurately, I spread the butt cheeks.
Jesus Christ!
I don't even know why I stopped talking to let him get that.
You're not spreading your butt cheeks. I don't want to look.
While everybody has had rave reviews for the Triple H era since taking over WWE booking and developmental and things along those lines, my topic is, while Triple H has all this momentum going for him and going in a good route, what is something that he could do that could hurt the momentum that he currently has going in his favor? I'll let you guys start, and then I'll go from there.
Resign Nia Jax. No.
That would
I
do
thought
it.
you were going to say Braun Strowman, and I was about to be.
Oh yeah, I mean one in the same.
That'll do it too.
I was thinking about it, and with the other news of the day, and I apologize if I'm stealing anybody else's thoughts on this one, but to me, it's these kind of blindside mass layoffs, because we're seeing released talents return. You know, Dakota is back, Io's called up, Cross and Scarlett are back, Hit Row's back, Dexter's back. You know, we're every week we're waiting on Johnny Gargano's music to hit. You know, so we're seeing talents brought back into the mix. But I think and here, like, releases aren't a bad thing. Like, I want to make that part clear. Releases.
You don't think they should go the Tony Khan route of just letting people's contracts expire?
Well, I mean, depending how many people you want to let recklessly get hurt every week on your TV, Andrade, we're looking at you this week. You know, we're building a roster of 172 wrestlers is actually probably pretty smart on Tony's end. But the thing about releases is, especially in a corporate world, is they are going to happen.
Of course.
But I think these, you know, especially since the spring of 2020, we have seen 6 different instances of these mass firing days. I think something like that could derail a lot of what WWE is doing. And I don't think that's going to happen because, let's be honest, we look at the 2 main rosters, and there's not an ability there to do mass releases. So I don't think
they cleared out a lot of people already.
Yes. I mean, WWE signed way too many people. You had a new president and now CEO of the company, co-CEO of the company, Nick Khan, come in. And I guarantee you somebody like him is looking over the books and going, why are we paying for 247 wrestlers on this company? I know we have 9 hours of TV a week, but we only have 9 hours of TV per week. There's far too many people we're paying to not do anything. So I think that's what that is. So I think that the balance on the roster is being reestablished. But to me, I think any sort of mass layoffs multiple times a year would be something that would derail what Triple H is doing momentum wise.
So I've got 2 that I'll throw out there. And the first one I will tie back into what we were just talking about with the NXT UK releases. Hold on one second. I have to put one of the dogs away because they're just misbehaving. So I would say that one of the things that could definitely go wrong for Triple H is the idea of people looking at it as oh, Hunter's killing the indie scene again, or Hunter or WWE is killing the international wrestling scene. Because prior to AEW being a thing, let's rewind back to 2015, 2016 when NXT UK first started to happen, or the idea of it was announced. And the other idea of, like I said, they announced that they were going to try to do NXT Japan and NXT Mexico, and they signed, if you remember at that time, they signed a whole bunch of guys where it was like, oh, there go all our favorite guys from the indie scene. There go all the main ROH stars. There go a bunch of guys from MLW. There goes some New Japan guys. You had a whole lot, a couple of guys from, Mexico, all of that. You had a whole lot of people that all of a sudden they were like, I feel like there was a moment where people were kind of like, oh, we love Triple H. We love all these wrestlers, but low-key, you're kind of doing what Vince McMahon did to the territories back in the 80s, and you're kind of killing everybody else. I fear that could happen again. Triple H right now is being regarded in a lot of ways as our savior, as the man who's bringing wrestling back to world wrestling entertainment.
I mean, I jokingly referred to him as like Papa H multiple times on Monday. Thank you, Papa H.
And that's valid because he's earned that. He is doing that. He deserves all the praise he's getting right now. But I can see a scenario where, and like I said, I think the announcement of Euro NXT is what's moving us in this direction. I can see a scenario in about a year to 2 years when NXT Mexico is a thing and NXT Japan is a thing and all of that. And you have all of these talent signing, and all of a sudden you see all these people leaving New Japan or leaving AAA or leaving, other companies in Mexico. And indie companies are starting to have problems running shows, and there's no more talent. Kind of what basically happened to the European scene when NXT UK became a thing. That I could see that being one of those things that maybe not on an overall basis among major mainstream WWE fans becomes a detriment, but for people who are kind of like us, dorks on the internet, I could see that becoming a thing where people are like, oh, that's not cool, Triple H. The other thing that I'm going to throw out there, and then you guys can comment on both of them. You can choose, Pikachu. The other thing, and so far, knock on wood, this has not happened. In fact, I thought it was going to happen about a week ago, and then it didn't happen. I think Triple H could lose some favor if it becomes too obvious that he's doing nothing but pushing Triple H guys. And I feel like there's a delicate balance that he's going to have to find because he has been doing that. Factually, Karrion Kross went from an S&M jobber who was fired and gone for 3 months to being in the main storyline on SmackDown involving former world champion Drew McIntyre and the champion of the last 2.5 years, Roman Reigns. That's an easy one. If you're not a Karrion Kross fan, that's an easy one to look at and be like, oh, Triple H is just pushing his guy. I thought that a few weeks ago when Ciampa kind of came out of nowhere and ended up in a U.S. title match, that we were going to see that Ciampa was going to end up winning the U.S. title, maybe before he was actually kind of deserving of winning the U.S. title. And pleasantly, I was surprised that Lashley actually got to retain the belt because Lashley's reign is going awesomely, and there's no reason to take the title off of Lashley right now. But it felt like maybe that was going to be a thing. There you go. It felt like it was maybe going to be a thing because Ciampa is a Triple H guy. And granted, we all love Ciampa. Ciampa's amazing. Ciampa deserves to be a world champion. Yeah. He deserves to be an eventual world champion. I don't think any of us disagree with that, just like I don't think any of us are annoyed at Kevin Owens getting a push or Finn Balor or any other number. That's the one thing is yes, a lot of the Triple H guys are also guys that we all genuinely love. So we're all going to be a little bit excited, but like, it also might be easy to be like, the fuck, Dexter Lumis? I don't care about him. Why is he all of a sudden in a major Raw storyline? I feel like depending on the talent and how many of them get pushed like this, like right now, the saving grace is that a lot of us are excited by these particular talents. If we weren't, would we be like, God fucking damn it, Triple H, stop pushing all your own people?
I see where you're going. I think like the clever thing like they're doing with Dexter Lumis is they're still making it look like he is trying to like hijack the show. I thought what they did with him on Raw this week was brilliant, with him like attacking the commentary guys, and they just cut the commercial.
Yes.
Like they made it seem like a real situation. So like I don't
Agreed.
think Lumis is going to be contending for the undisputed unified world galactic championship anytime soon, like Cross is. And I'm curious to see exactly how this Cross thing plays out as we inch towards the Clash at the Castle, because it seems like right now his sights are more set on Drew as opposed to Roman. I know like Scarlett targeted Roman with the hourglass, but the funny thing about it, like an hourglass, especially when you're not just staring at the sand going through it, is like the concept behind it is just that your time is running out. Every day, I mean, theoretically speaking, every day Roman Reigns adds to his title reign. He is also one day closer to the end of his title reign. So what's planting that seed doesn't necessarily mean that Roman wins at the Castle and Cross beats him, then at Extreme Rules in Philadelphia. Which, if WWE is smart, I would recommend they do not have Karrion Kross win that title in Philadelphia, because you do not need another Philadelphia crowd booing the WWE's booking decisions at the end of a pay-per-view in Philadelphia.
We're at the last one.
Yeah, I mean it's happened numerous times over the past few years. So I would, like I said, I would heavily advise against that. But yeah, I think that the beauty of it, Joe, right now is the quote unquote Triple H guys are just people that we love, that we've wanted to see get pushed properly for a long time. And I know Ciampa's relatively new to the main roster.
Yeah.
But like he's still kind of doing this thing with Miz. Like he didn't come in and win the title right away. The US title right away. So like now he's still doing this tag team thing with Miz that seems to be working great. Let's keep that going, because that's presenting Ciampa, because what he got the fall against Ali this past Monday. So as long as he keeps racking up the wins for him and Miz, well, guess what? Eventually Miz, that guy that's been there for 20 years, multi-time champion, all that.
That turns on everybody he teams with.
Like he might end up start getting jealous of the fact that Ciampa always gets the wins, and Miz could end up turning on him. So, then and then you even have more of a rocket strapped to Ciampa there. I think like the Owens McIntyre segment, awesome. I'll touch on that a little bit in my topic. But yeah, I think I see what you're saying, but I don't think there's a lot of worry about backlash on Triple H guys getting pushes.
Let me put it from a different perspective too. One other thing that I think Triple H could do or insist on right now that could potentially cause some backlash. I think we can all agree that the overall WWE main roster audience is a lot broader than the internet wrestling community. It's a lot broader than even the audience that watched NXT Black and Gold. And arguably the audience that watches AEW. Like WWE has a more mainstream audience.
It's definitely more mainstream than who watches AEW.
Right. I wonder if Triple H, because remember, we're looking at what we know of his booking, what we know of who he likes to push. We're looking at NXT Black and Gold. That's the history book we can look at. It's like when a new coach gets hired for a football team and they were a coach in the college system for a while. You can look back on what their college record was and what they did and kind of get an idea for what their fundamentals might be as a mainstream coach and what they might be trying to do in the NFL that they did in their college career. So in that same idea, I think we look at what Triple H did with NXT Black and Gold, and we can kind of see that I'm defending my life over here.
You are, man. That was intense.
We can kind of see some of what Triple H likes to push, and we know that's a lot of the wrestling. We know that's the wrestlers. We know, like, Johnny Gargano became a huge star in NXT that I don't think he would have become on the main roster in Vince's world. I think we all agree with that. So
yes,
knowing that he likes to push the wrestlers as much as he does, I fear that Triple H could try to push too much of the wrestlers and too much of the wrestling agenda and making Raw and SmackDown only wrestling shows, which, like, for us, like, we love, but it is meant to be more mainstream. And the unfortunate thing,
entertainment.
Right, it is still sports entertainment. And the unfortunate thing is that means guys like Omos. That means guys like Veer. That, you know what I mean? You need your monsters. You need your 7 foot tall, larger than life characters who, for those of us who are big wrestling fans, like, yeah, I don't get excited for an Omos match the way I get excited for an AJ Styles match.
I mean, Veer about murdered a personal friend of mine this past Monday.
This is what I was going to say, though. Like, what I'm going to give Triple H credit for is he's not doing that so far. Like, Omos is still getting his push. Veer is still getting his push. In fact, Veer looked fucking awesome on Monday. Veer looked like an actual legit threat all of a sudden. Like, he went from being one of the biggest joke punchlines in pro wrestling to being, oh shit, like, we might actually have to watch out for this guy. And he looked fantastic in the ring. Like, he looked good wrestling.
Kudos to my boy Bro Keller, known as Bo Keller, this past Monday on Raw for taking that beating. Always good to see.
Into the shed.
Always good to see people from the indie scene that any of us know personally, but for me, this one,
good to see people that getting murdered on TV.
Murdering friends of mine on TV. So that's always fun. Like, I'm texting people like, turn on the USA Network right fucking now. So that was really cool. I was super happy for him as well. But yeah.
All right, so number one on Joe's topic of thoughts
Here
was
came.
That was number 3, actually. Well, number 1 was your opinion on what again?
Triple H's attempt to take over the entire wrestling world.
No, that was number 2, where he's pushing his own guys. I'm saying, what was the first?
No. Him, like, establishing
creating
like
NXT
Japan.
Mexico, NXT Japan, NXT.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, see, I don't have a problem with that as much as I would think, because here's the real problem.
Oh, I don't have a problem with it personally. I'm saying I can see other people having a problem with it.
Well, no, see, because at that point, if he's taking over all of the world at that point, and people are leaving to go work for them, it means one of two things. Either people are trying to get contracts before their career is over, and we're not as deep in the wrestling business. I think we need to hope that more people take up the profession to make it where there are more names available for independent wrestling shows and things like that. And I think that's something that is kind of not as high anymore.
No,
I think there are less and less being trained, and even less being trained the right way. So that's something where I think that's more of a bodies problem than a a Hunter problem or a developmental problem or anything along those lines. Another reason why I was super surprised that so many people from NXT UK got their walking papers today. But to really sink my teeth into the second one, and that's where I want to go with it. Who right now in a main event feud would you say is not a Hunter guy?
So, okay. I guess
it's on the roster right now.
That's part of something going on the two shows.
So here's someone who I'm going to throw out there, and of course I'm going to throw him out there. Theory, right? I think Theory.
I was just about to say, if you say Theory, I'm kicking you out of the street.
So, but I think Theory is actually a really interesting case study because, arguably speaking, Theory is a Triple H guy because Triple H was in charge of signing talent when Theory was signed. Theory was an Evolve wrestler. Gabe found Theory fucking giving hand jobs in the back of a club in Queens and was like, you have abs. You look like you can do flips. Come work an Evolve show. I'm pretty sure that's a true story, by the way. So
wow.
that's where Theory kind of came out of nowhere. And then Triple H signed him in NXT and stuff. But Theory on the main roster has been very clearly positioned as a Vince McMahon guy. So, like, you kind of wonder, as much as Triple H was like, oh, Austin Theory, you got talent, let me get you into NXT, let me develop you and stuff. Would Theory be Mr. Money in the Bank right now if it wasn't Vince's decision? Would Triple H have gone that far with him already? Or would he still be on NXT, quite frankly?
I don't think he would be on NXT because his NXT run was over when Candice and Johnny left.
Okay. But would Candice and Johnny have left?
Yes, because Candice was still pregnant and Johnny wanted to spend time with his family.
Okay, heard.
But if Triple H is in charge, is he actually giving people time away without?
Right.
Would they feel comfortable like asking for time away?
Probably, but I still think because the way was over, the way that Johnny was taken out by Grayson Waller, Candice with the pregnancy, all that stuff, I truly think Theory's time in NXT was over.
I don't think he'd still be in NXT. I think he'd be on the main roster.
I don't necessarily know that I would say that he is Mr. Money in the Bank, but I think he would have had just as much of a push as he's had already. He may not be the money.
Unreal.
You know, this is an audio thing, right?
I'm gonna tell. Yeah, this is a podcast and a video. If you're not seeing the name changes on the YouTube, hop over there. We're about at the 38.5 minute mark. And oh dear God, yeah, that's a thing that happened.
Jesus Christ. But when I truly look at the roster right now, there isn't anyone that I'm like, oh man, that's a Vince guy.
Not even Veer or Almost.
Veer started in NXT.
Okay, what about Almost?
Almost feels like a Vince guy, but Triple H can do stuff with him.
Here's the question.
But what major thing is Almost doing right now?
Oh yeah, nothing.
No, he's not doing anything right now. Fair. Okay, that's valid. Okay, wait.
So now Triple H has the ability to do whatever the fuck he wants with him.
Here's a question, okay? Logan Paul. Is that a Triple H signing or is that a Vince signing?
Yes. I think that's a bit of both.
I think that's a business decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's someone who's going to bring in millions of eyes. I think either one of them would have signed him. I don't think it necessarily has a title. I think if you're thinking of Vince guy v Hunter guy, I mean, you're looking at, okay, Seth Rollins, Hunter guy, who fills the Vince guy side of that discussion? Because it can't be Randy Orton. Because while Triple H, or while Vince signed him, he worked exclusively with Hunter for years. There isn't really anybody in that old guard that you're like, that's a Vince guy. Because Drew McIntyre, when he came back, worked NXT first.
Yeah, no, he became a Triple H guy.
I'm looking over the roster, and like the only people like I even see that, and they're not even doing anything major that I see having any like potential like trouble in Triple H's WWE is like.
Can I point something out?
Shanky. But like,
can I point something out that I find actually fascinating about what we're talking about here, and I feel like it's something that is going to bust a very long-standing narrative that exists. If everyone that we're looking at on the main roster is an NXT person, a Triple H person, and all that, all like the successful storylines and stuff, where's this narrative that 80% of people came from NXT and then bombed on the main roster? Because, like, don't get me wrong, there were definitely a fair number of people that we all thought were gonna make it big and then bombed on the main roster. But for every person that bombed, there seems to be at least one or two success stories, or otherwise this wouldn't be this conversation.
The silly thing about that narrative too is you can always tell when wrestling fans aren't sports fans.
Right.
Because there are, I mean, in the with, I mean, football's kind of an odd situation because, like, I mean, well, no, it even isn't, because college football really is like minor league NFL. Look at the number of players that play college football, and then there's 32 teams in the NFL, and now you have you have the XFL coming back. You have the USFL. The number of players in the USFL, sure, a couple of guys are getting signed to practice rosters and depth signings and stuff like that. For the most part, most of these guys that aren't playing NFL football are never going to play NFL football. And some might go into the NFL. They're not going to make it. They're going to get cut. But every so often, there's going to be a guy like He Hate Me, Rod Smart, that plays a couple of seasons in the National Football League. Baseball, you have countless minor leagues, and every so often, guys get signed. They get to the big show, and out of the 100 players a season that might get called up to the majors, 3, 4, or 5 of them might really stick. Hockey is the same way. You have minor leagues, basketball. You have all of these minor leagues, and every so often a guy's going to get called up. It doesn't work out. They go back to the minors, or they just get cut and they never play professionally again. So, like, when I see this, WWE has all of this talent, NXT and developmental, and then they come to the WWE main roster and they just don't make it. Yeah, because that's literally the highest level in this sport.
And not everyone's going to make it, because if everyone's
going to make it here.
Right. It's like
so if they don't make it in the WWE, either they go back to NXT, which is their minor league system, or you end up going to AEW or Impact or somewhere else, which is and this, I'm not saying this disrespectfully, but the AEW is the USFL of professional wrestling.
Yeah, that's valid.
It has a major TV deal, but it is not threatening the biggest dog in the yard.
Yeah,
the
no.
USFL
and it looks much more.
It was exciting. A lot of people watched it. People enjoyed it, but it's not threatening the NFL.
Right. No, it's like my Aunt Ellen has this saying where if every single player in a game, in like a football game, played 100%, like was the best at what they do, then every game would just be 0-0. Like not everyone is going to be able to be the best. Someone's got to be slightly worse.
if everybody's great, nobody's great.
Exactly. And thus then lies the problem with superheroes. But that's a whole other conversation.
So when I think about it from the standpoint, the names that I came back to that were, quote, Vince guys, The Miz.
Mm-hmm.
But Triple H can use him because he's such an overact.
Oh,
he's built himself.
He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Same with somebody like Dolph Ziggler.
Hell, Ziggler's gotten more of a push in the past 3 weeks than he's had in years.
Exactly. But when he came up, it was Vince, and it was really Vince's. It was still Vince's stuff. You know, and the
by the way, not Joe, earmuff it for me because I don't want to go off another side road. But if you have not seen the Ziggler Theory match from Monday, seek it out.
Not yet.
That was real good.
Good. I got to finish watching Raw. I might do that after we get off of here tonight.
So when I look at it from that standpoint, and to make the comment about the NXT guys that have failed, you know, when you look back at the NXT roster, especially from when that first takeover took place, and you look at that roster where you had guys like Bo Dallas and Pac and Tyler Breeze, and you know there were some misses there. Juice Robinson, you know, there were some misses there from a WWE perspective, you know, but there were still some hits there. So I think the big thing when it comes to NXT, especially whenever Triple H took it over on a more permanent basis, was the hits were home runs. The misses were still productive, though.
Yeah.
You know, you got a runner on first, and you need 2 runs to score. All right. The next guy up lays down a bunt. You know, nobody remembers like the Ascension, aside from if you were an NXT fan, because they came up to the main roster and were really, really bad.
Yeah, they were terrible.
But their run in NXT was fantastic.
You know what I think killed them? They looked big in NXT.
Yes.
They got in a big arena and they looked tiny. And I'm like, oh, they're 100%. Dead. They're dead.
So that's one of those things where, you know, they sacrificed one for the team. But then Matt Riddle comes up and it's a 2-run home run. And you're like, holy shit. You know, no one forgets that, you know, these guys kind of, you know, fall in tribute to let other acts gain the momentum. Adam Rose in NXT, the party animal, was one of the most over things in the world. It comes up to the main roster and it's just like, why is Get Him to the Greek on my fucking TV screen right now? What the fuck are we doing?
Like what is
he gonna start petting a furry wall? I mean, I'm so confused.
Who the hell is this?
Bye, Joe. Apparently.
Bye, Joe. He'll come back.
We were talking about Theory. He'll be back in a minute.
Exactly. His spider senses will go off. So when I look at it from that standpoint, like that, like, and commenting on Joe's now he's not here to defend it, but I'll still comment on it. I feel like there are the home runs coming out of NXT have been bigger than the strikeouts of NXT. And I think that's been the thing to really sink your teeth into. Ciampa's been good. Cross has been better since they brought him back up. You know, Dakota, EO, you know, all that stuff. Raquel was even been good. Shayna with this new, going back to being a submission specialist, you know, and kicking people's asses. I think those are all major benefactors to not just Triple H being there, but having the restriction of having to do things a certain way, the Vince McMahon way. I think that's something. My thing that this is my topic, and you guys can comment on it. I had 2 as well. The first one, Jim, you'll agree with me hands down on this one. My number one thing is that Triple H could do to hurt the momentum that he's built is end the title run of Roman Reigns.
Agreed. I agree with that completely.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't like. I love Drew. I love what they've done with Drew. I feel Drew did not get his WrestleMania moment, which is upsetting because of how much of a workhorse Drew was during the pandemic.
Yeah, this feels like
a perfectly sentimental moment with him being home, and it making sense. if this was for one of the titles, I could live with it. But with it being for both titles, I don't think it makes sense. I would almost rather Karrion Kross take him out before the match starts and we don't even have a title match. Obviously, that's probably not going to happen.
Probably not going to happen.
I would much rather that be the route that they go.
What other matches are on that show? Can you main event with anything else? Because if you open the show like that, you can get away with that.
I mean, necessarily, do you have to? Could Roman just be fed somebody else
in the main event?
Currently, currently the rest of the card is.
You can do Riddle and Seth Rollins as the main event.
Yeah, currently the rest of the card: Liv Morgan versus Shayna Baszler, Bianca, Alexa, and Asuka versus Bailey and the She-Old. Obviously Asuka, Bailey, Bailey, Dakota, and Io, and then you have Riddle versus Rollins. That's what is so far on the card with
I mean, honestly,
2 weeks from tomorrow left to go.
If we're giving off the whole, European vibe, I feel Walter Gunther defending the title there would make a lot of sense against someone. I don't even care who it is.
Gunther.
Yeah.
Gunther. But I mean, I think Drew.
The second coming of Das Wunderkind.
Yeah. Jesus Christ! All right, Alex.
Good
right.
God in heaven.
Can we get Alex right for the show? Can he be at Castles in the Sky?
That was yeah. Go get high.
I'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be high.
I'll be back with opinions.
Yes.
Das Wunderkind.
Exactly. So when I thought about it more, I felt the Roman Empire should go unfazed unless you're able to find a way to split the two titles. Because I know USA has said something about wanting, to have a world title on there, and I do think that if Roman is going to be I'm gonna be there when I'm gonna be there kind of guy, that I do think that they do need another world title. I do think that they need to bring the Winged Eagle back in some way, shape, or form, or some kind of championship. Because my issue here when it comes to this is when Brock had the Universal title, somebody was still around defending the WWE Championship. We never went with both titles not being around. This is one of those things where it kind of like, okay, well, we don't have a world champion that's here. There is not a world champion on Raw, because Roman doesn't show up on Raw.
Right.
Maybe Raw does need a world champion, and maybe this is something that'll get addressed at the draft. Maybe they break the titles up at the draft.
Ooh, maybe.
So I'm not gonna sit here and say let's just create a new title to create a new title. But if they have the ability to split the titles back up at the draft and give USA what they want, and you can do whatever you want to determine who's going to be the champion on Raw, because I think Roman stays on SmackDown. You know what? I would love for this to be a hell of a storyline where Sami Zayn earns the trust of the Bloodline, and Roman Reigns hands him one of the titles to go be the champion on Raw to defend the honor of the Bloodline, because the Usos are on both shows as the Raw and SmackDown tag champions. So the Usos could help him for the first couple months retain the title until he eventually loses it to somebody. I think that would be a fantastic storyline. Just my personal opinion. You can book it out however you want. But it's one of those things where I definitely think that they do need another title on Raw. And I think not doing that is something that could hurt them. But you can't do it at the expense of what Roman has built.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
The other thing that I think could hurt them and hurt the momentum, and it's gonna be one of those where
bringing Ric Flair back.
No, God, no.
Oof.
I actually think it's what could hurt their momentum is Triple H taking I'm not going to say the underhand route. I'm going to say the 5th grade bully route, where he starts coming out or he starts having talent mentioning AEW.
Okay.
He needs to go out there and he needs to Raw and SmackDown, bioluminescent brand, premium live event, big NXT events, like, he needs to keep his chin down and worry about the 4 shows that he's got, or the 3 shows, the PLEs, and all that stuff. He can't come out and have Dolph Ziggler come out and be like, so I was scrolling through my TV screen on a Friday night and I saw some old Goldust character challenge for the Ring of Honor World Champion with some former Swiss guy that used to work here.
And I'll say this, right?
Don't mention
I don't
him.
think I don't think that that's something that Triple H would have them do anyway, especially not at this level. Because, like you said, like, look, WWE and AEW, as much as they might, like Jim was saying earlier, it's like NFL and USFL. Like, as much as they might be both playing the same game, they're not in the same league. You know, these are 2 extremely different things. And at the end of the day, what's a king to a god? You know, like, WWE has no reason to acknowledge.
We say that, but track record proves that when someone normally rattles the cage of WWE, they respond.
True.
Phil from Chicago went out there on their show with their world title and mentioned WWE. Most of the time, in years past, and eras past, there would be
WWE over so much.
But
that was such a weird.
It was so weird.
Really
right, wrong, or indifferent.
We'll get to that.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. Somebody would come out on Friday and mention it in times past. It used to happen with the WCW stuff all the time. One of the most over things in all of WWE history was D-Generation X showing up at WCW because WCW opened up their mouth about WWE.
Oh, yeah.
I don't need that. I don't need that to be a thing. I need Hunter to focus on building that machine to being the best machine, and
agreed.
Let them play in their sandbox over there. Let them destroy themselves from within. And, you know, if Malachi Black picks up the phone and says, hey, my contract's up, I want to come back. Okay. You want to bring your friend Brody King with you? You want to bring your friend Buddy Murphy with you? Fine. I'll let you be the House of Black here. Why not? Sure. But let them do that. Don't do the thing where you're like, you know what, I'm going to just buy up all the remaining companies and put everybody out of business again. And I don't think Hunter will do that because I think Hunter knows what that led to.
I don't think that is going to happen because Nick Khan is one half of the CEOs of the company.
And he's secretly there for the sake of AEW because that's his cousin, Tony.
No, but I don't think, like, Vince was able to spend and buy and hire whoever he wanted because Vince was in charge. I don't think Triple H is going to have that luxury because you're going to have somebody who is more business minded and checks and balances and all of that is going to be like, why, why are we signing this? Why? Like, let's really
what's
evaluate
the sense behind this,
right? Is this person worth the budget that we are going to allocate to them? So yeah, I get that could be a thing that could derail all of this, but yeah, I think WWE is in a much better spot, and I don't think we see that happen because of the leadership that is in place. The leadership structure in WWE is so much different now, and it will continue to evolve. I think over the next 6 months to a year, to where what WWE leadership is post Vince will be unrecognizable to the WWE we've known forever.
I can see that.
I agree.
Sorry,
want to go to the next topic?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think this is a good place to look at the counter here, because like last week we talked about like kind of fantasy booking a bit, like some of this stuff. And we just here looked at things that Triple H could do to hurt momentum a bit. For me, I watched Kevin Owens tell us he is once again the prize fighter, Kevin Owens. I saw Drew McIntyre swordless, by the way, because that felt like a very Vince McMahon thing.
Thank God.
A swordless Drew McIntyre used the word wrestle and wrestler like 7 times in 30 seconds. And
because he could.
Yes, because you can use words like that because yes, this is sports entertainment, but this is a wrestling ring and they are wrestlers who entertain us. So don't stop trying to pretend that it's not that. Like that's the thing is we can't pretend that they are not wrestlers. So who do you think will thrive the most in Triple H's WWE?
That wouldn't have is in Vince's?
Not even, it doesn't even necessarily, I don't think, have to be that wouldn't thrive. But like,
okay,
to me, I'm looking at, yes, and I know Kevin Owens was Universal Champion, but since he lost the Universal title, Kevin Owens has not been
nothing.
Kevin Owens has not been the prize fighter since what, 2019,
yeah. I've got a few answers.
Like Kevin Owens, like the way I look at it is like Kevin Owens was a featured player without question.
Yes.
With under Vince McMahon, he was a valuable asset to the WWE. To me, Kevin Owens in Triple H's WWE feels like he could be a world champion again.
Yes.
So like that's kind of what I mean. Like Kevin Owens was doing just fine. And I mean, hell, Kevin Owens had arguably the biggest, most memorable match of night 1 of WrestleMania this year. And there was no title to be seen. So like Kevin Owens clearly successful, clearly thrived at times under Vince. But I feel like what he could do with Triple H could be completely on a different level. That's kind of what
okay. Here's one name that I'm going to give. And to be fair, this is slightly different from what you were saying. But we did have a conversation a few weeks ago, maybe months ago at this point, to be honest, about some current NXT like 2.0 stars and whether or not we thought they would succeed on the main roster. This is one of those guys that I think we all kind of collectively agreed probably going to end up failing on the main roster, even though he shouldn't. And now in a Triple H-led world, I don't think he's going to be a failure anymore. In fact, I think when he does eventually make it to the main roster, he's going to become one of the biggest stars in the company. And that's Carmelo Hayes.
Okay.
I feel like he was pretty destined to be. I mean, like, look, let's be real here, right? If Swerve didn't sign with AEW and they brought Swerve back with Hit Row, because obviously that would have been a thing that happened since they brought the rest of Hit Row back, Swerve would have probably been in the discussion for someone who would be a major star when, he had 2 weeks on the main roster and then got fired before. So I think it's the same thing. Like Carmelo Hayes to me is that guy who you give him the spotlight, you give him the opportunity, you bring him in with that NXT character that he's playing right now. That guy is one of your main event stars of the future. I think Vince was going to blow that. I think Vince was going to have him in and change the character and change the look and something. He would have probably ended up being the one managing the other guy as opposed to vice versa. The whole act would have changed. And then he'd ended up released then on AEW Dark in like 6 short months. Now, I think this man's got a chance. I think we might end up seeing one of the biggest stars of the next generation in Carmelo Hayes.
Okay, I like that answer. Mike?
I've got two that I think will excel in the Triple H led WWE. The first one, the first ever undisputed champion, guy who never got his rematch, Finn Balor.
Okay.
Balor.
Even if it's outside of the shit with Judgment Day, I still think Triple H will find a way to use him very effectively moving forward. He's a guy that's a vet, works good, works with everybody well. I think he has a shot to propel himself back into the main event picture under a Triple H led roster. And the other one, this one's gonna besmirch a couple of our friends, so I'm gonna apologize ahead of time. But a guy who, and I'm saying this just from a Triple H led roster, former King of the Ring, former Constable, Baron Corbin.
Fuck yes.
Because here's the thing: Happy Corbin, Sad Corbin were fun characters. But if you go back to Baron Corbin in NXT, like Triple H was trying to push him as like a monster before he cut his hair.
Yes.
Triple H was genuinely trying to push him as a monster.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that character, when it came to the main roster, Vince decided to tinker with it and change some stuff and everything like that. I think he's someone that is going to be a major player in a Triple H led.
Can I point, after you're done, can I point out one of the most obvious people to answer this question?
Are you going to say Punishment Martinez? Because he was the other one that I was going to go with.
No. But this will be real fast because it's honestly disagreeable because it's just happening on TV as we speak, essentially. Karrion Kross. Like I said earlier, this man went from being he went from literally being S&M gear jobber to Jeff Hardy guy
Wish.com
on
demolition.
Raw.
Yeah.
Yes. He went from being that guy to being fired to being a legitimate main event potential guy on SmackDown. Like, that happened. And the funny thing is,
the only thing with Kross, and the only reason why I'm not going to slam dunk it as much as the two of you are,
okay,
is because Kross has not worked a match back yet.
Okay.
He goes in there and shits the bed or hurt someone. I think he comes back down screeching real hard.
Possibly.
Sure.
I get it. I see that the writing's on the wall that he
should be
someone.
Potential's
but I want to see him wrestle a match and make sure that he gets through it and the match looks good and there isn't like, oh, hey, by the way, Karrion Kross wrestled Robert Roode this week and now Robert's out 6 months with a fucking broken neck, a la Ridge Holland, go fuck yourself. So, if Karrion Kross can get through matches and not hurt anyone and the matches look good, I'm all for him being part of that will succeed category with a slam dunk. But I just need to see that before I'm willing to slam it down the basket. Another guy, and I'm gonna go for the women's perspective here. Obviously, the Bayley, Io, Dakota trio. I think they end up with all the gold on Raw sooner rather than later. And I think that Io and Dakota are going to be the two that are going to get the because I don't think, obviously, Dakota was gone already in a Vince McMahon-led world. And Io was ready to get on a plane and go back to Japan until Triple H took it over. So I think those are three names that are going to succeed leaps and bounds. So I think those are a couple easy ones on the women's side.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the person that came to mind, we were discussing him at the onset of the question is Kevin Owens.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he thrives differently. I think Sami Zayn, they might as well be brothers. Shut the fuck up. Sami Zayn, I think could thrive in a different way as well. Again, guys that always part of the show and always a important part of the show, but it will be different. I mean, that Zayn Nakamura match at Takeover Dallas,
Yeah.
motherfucker, what a good goddamn match. That gives me hope that Sami Zayn will be successful on a different level. Is Sami Zayn a world title holder in WWE? Probably not. But he doesn't have to be. You're gonna have plenty of success in the WWE, and be one of the best ever without ever holding a world title. But he can be meaningful on a different level. But
I got one for you after you're done.
the other one, and I'm looking at it from the women's side, and we're seeing her get a SmackDown Women's title shot here in 2 weeks from tomorrow. Is Shayna Baszler.
For
You know,
sure.
you look back to what Shayna was in NXT compared to what she has been on the main roster, and there's never been, not never been, but she is one of the prime examples of the disconnect between what Triple H saw in a talent and what Vince saw in a talent. So it shouldn't be that difficult to book Shayna Baszler. I think she has enough. She can have enough charisma to be successful on the main roster WWE, but she's also just a legitimate ass kicker, and people like to see legitimate ass kickers kick people's asses. Like it's not that difficult. So yeah, I think that those are my answers.
NXT Shayna Baszler at one point was the best female wrestler on the planet, and I don't care what anybody says.
Without question.
Okay, so here's one for you, because it feels like this is probably going to happen because his brother was taken out on a stretcher, and I don't think we're going to see him again. So in maybe about 8 to 10 short weeks of facial hair growing, I kind of wonder if WWE won't once again stand for Walk with Elias.
I want those like family pictures and like him dressing up as a different member of the family to like do a short video segment every week on Raw until Elias comes back. Like Elias is definitely coming back to avenge his brother. There's no question.
Have either of you ever seen the video where the guys are yelling, "What's your name?" And he's like, "Tony." And he's like, "Well, fuck you, Tony."
Yes.
Every time Ezekiel comes on it, because it's like it just popped up on my.
What? What is your name, Tony? Fuck you, Tony. What's your name? Ezekiel. Fuck you, Ezekiel. Fuck you. Fuck you. Hey, you know what I did last night? You better not bring my mother into this. You know what I did? You better not.
Oh my God.
If Kevin Steen and Elias have that interaction at some point, I literally will lose my mind of going, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. But every time I hear them they call him Ezekiel, I just think of that clip, because I just hear someone go, "Fuck you, Ezekiel," the whole fucking time that he's on the screen. So I hope it is Elias that comes back, because I do like Elias with the guitar and all that stuff. Honestly, I changed my name on the chat for those of you that can see it. I changed. Where is this shit? I think that guy wins a world title now, sooner rather than later, in a WWE ran by Triple H than Vince. And it's that guy's gotten into great fucking shape.
Dude, the IC title match from SmackDown last week was so good.
You know, him and Ludwig Kaiserroll, both of them since coming over from NXT UK, have gotten like stupid jacked. Gunther and Kaiserroll felt like, all right, well, they're gonna give Gunther a fucking IC title run for a couple months, and then they're gonna be part of the fucking tag team division, and eventually Walter's gonna go back to the UK and basically tell Vince to go shove it up his ass.
Yeah.
Well, now things feel a little different.
So here's the question. Do you think there's a scenario where we see what the fuck was the team name? Imperium on like SmackDown or Raw or whatever? Do you think we see that actual act, the old
Hit it, Jim.
act?
Hit it, Jim. I want him to go back to that entrance music, by the way.
Hell yeah.
I hate his new music. It's awful.
I don't hate it. It's definitely not anywhere nearly as good.
So no, I don't think we get the rest of Imperium at all. Alexander Wolf is gone. I don't think he's coming back. Fabian Eichner is now Giovanni Vinci, right?
Sure.
Is that who that is?
I think so.
I think you
I
might
didn't
be
even
right.
realize that.
Yeah, when they left NXT and he stayed down, I think he became Vinny Vinci. So yeah, I don't think we're getting, because I think even I'm gonna go back and look it up. I don't think, even whenever Ring Camp was a thing, it was Walter, Marcel Barthel, aka Dieter Axel Jr. Timothy Thatcher was the third member. Originally, I don't see Thatcher coming back, and if he does, I don't necessarily know that he's coming back to join Gunther and Kaiser role.
Right.
Yeah, that's Fabian Eichner, boys.
Yeah, that's weird.
Dude's a fucking hell of a fucking wrestler.
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
wait, I got one. Okay, I got two last answers here for this question.
Okay.
And they're a little bit off the beaten path because they're not specific wrestlers.
Okay.
I think that Triple H being in charge is going to mean really good things for tag team wrestling and women's wrestling in WWE as a whole.
No, 104.
And I think it's already started to prove itself in the fact that we have the women's tag titles again. And we're going somewhere with that.
Two of the 3 episodes of Raw have the driving story from the beginning to end of show.
Yep.
Was the women. Yeah, and I think you have to work on putting the tag team division back together.
Right.
So that's going to take time because you have no tag teams in WWE.
No, not at the moment.
So I think that that's going to take some time. But yeah, I agree. Tag team wrestling, women's wrestling, women's tag team wrestling. Things that Vince hated.
Yeah, exactly.
Vince loved women. What are you talking about? I'm sure there's a lot of tag teaming going on.
Well, he liked wrestling women's tag teams. He did not like women's tag team wrestling. You see what I mean?
Wording is the key to everything.
It's the old every Kleenex is a tissue, but not every tissue is a Kleenex. And there was plenty of those in Vince's office as well, I'm sure. But yeah. Yeah, now you know how we feel when you talk about theory, Joe. Any other thoughts on this topic before we get to Joe's?
No, I'm good.
All right, Joe, hit it.
Real simple. We didn't think it was happening until All Out. Turns out plot twist is happening next week, so we got to tackle this one now. Who do you want to be the AEW World Champion? Do you want the rightful heir to the throne, that son of a bitch who can't seem to stop complaining every time he's got his hands on the microphone? CM Chick Magnet motherfucking Punk, or the interim AEW World Champion, the man who has done his best to become the top guy all over again, tried to be the franchise of the company. He literally gave up alcoholism for this, folks. Jon Moxley. Who you got, boys, and why?
I am going to say Punk because
okay.
There is more drama with CM Punk as champion, and I want to know, what the fuck do you do next if this match does go on as booked for next week, and if Punk retains? Because first off, I'm curious what the reaction is in Cleveland when CM Punk comes out next week, because like we've been told that we have, like, you have to love CM Punk. So Phil's finally home. He's home. It's wrestling. This is real wrestling. This is everything that Phil from Chicago wanted that the WWE couldn't give him, right? That was a year ago.
Yep.
Look where we are today. You know, that thinking that Phil wasn't even going to show up last night. And now, you know, like, so to me, I love the drama behind it. So to me, Phil, CM Punk retaining and being the undisputed AEW World Heavyweight Champion, yeah, why the hell not? Because then what do you do? You know, well, we can get into that a little bit more. But do you go Hangman? Do you give Mox this rematch in 2 weeks? Because why the fuck not? We love rematches in AEW. You know, do you do an open challenge? Like what do you do with 2 weeks leading up, you know, and with all of the buzz around CM Punk right now? Yeah, I think there's more intrigue there. So it's like, okay, so Moxley wins and he just does Moxley things and he does cryptic promos and he comes out the Wild Thing and he's Jon Moxley. So
does Jon Moxley things.
You know, he's just Jon Moxley. So yeah, to me, yeah, I want it to be Punk, just because I like to watch the world burn. And if Punk and the longer Punk is in that role, I think the more AEW eats itself alive as well.
Here's a question before we get to Mike's answer. Just a question for you, Jim. Do you believe the reports that Dave Meltzer came out that Punk went off script with the stuff about Hangman? Do you think that was in fact unplanned, that he went into his own for that?
There was no reason for Hangman to be brought up in that promo. It was so out of place. Commentary, the thing about AEW commentary is you can tell when a match is going longer than it's supposed to. You can tell when you know, the 13th suicide dive in a match doesn't land right. You know, when the lights out spot goes longer than it should. Commentary gets flustered because they don't have anybody with a coherent brain steering the ship in their ear. Listen to commentary on that promo last night. They didn't know that was coming. And I have seen this. Well, I'm sure you guys have as well. We've seen this on the indie scene. Somebody gets a mic and they realize that nobody's going to stop them, and you can see they turn a promo somewhere where it wasn't supposed to go.
Right.
and that's how Punk started last night. It made no sense. To the reports that Hangman wasn't even in the building. Like, so and what would be the point? So you have the biggest or one of the biggest quote unquote baby faces in your company, CM Punk. Because right now he's still a baby face, I believe. He's the returning champion. He is now calling out your homegrown biggest baby face, who's not going to answer a challenge,
Right.
and is going to now be called a coward. So either that wasn't planned, or you just fucking buried Hangman Page.
See, here's my thing though. The only reason why part of me wonders if it wasn't some degree of plan is because Hangman Page fits into the what are we doing 2 weeks at All Out. Like, Hangman makes more sense than almost anybody else as being the person to challenge whoever wins the belt. Because at the end of the day, he's got nothing going on. The one thing it seemed like he had going on, he said no to, and then Kenny Omega showed up in his fucking, like, compression shirt.
Oof.
So, I don't know what you do with Hangman otherwise anyway, to be honest.
Here's a bold take. You do nothing with him.
Okay.
The reality of the situation is who should win and who I want to win are two different things.
Okay, so who do you want to win?
Who do I want to win? I want John to win.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think Phil should have ever gotten the title.
That's fair.
Okay.
I think the fact that they pulled the trigger and made the change so that so the crowd would love Phil, and then Phil would be there for All Out in Chicago and get the hometown reaction, but he comes back as a heel knowing that he's not going to get booed in his own home fucking state. It makes no sense.
He would have also had the reaction at Forbidden Door.
That's exactly. It makes no sense. It hasn't made sense. But why make dollars?
No, it hasn't.
It makes sense. That's the Tony Khan thought process.
Yeah.
So again, I truthfully believe that Adam Page should have still been champion going into Forbidden Door. I don't think that John should have the interim title. I think John Moxley is the AEW World Champion. I've said that.
I mean, at the very least, man, how bad with all the buzz going around Punk right now? How bad does that decision to let him keep the title when he got hurt and he was out for this long? How bad does that look now? And also, like, I know sidebar, and we can maybe touch on the sidebar. What the fuck is he so mad about? They literally kept you world fucking champion when you shouldn't have been.
Right.
Here's the thing. We're going to give you the world title. We're going to put you over our real first homegrown world champion.
Yep.
We're going to give you the strap off of him. We're going to let you walk into your home city, world champion, going up against one of the best that New Japan has to offer. And you go into business for yourself and try to stage dive like you're a member of fucking Live in Color and come up fucking 6 feet short.
Like Damon Wayans?
Yes. If literally anybody else in the world, if this, and I'm going to use this, I'm not even going to say if this was WWE. If this was New Japan, the IWGP World Heavyweight title would have been held up, and they would have come up with a new way to figure out who the champion was. It sure as fuck wouldn't have been Phil from Chicago's when he came back.
Yeah.
Right.
He may have been able to fight for it, but he wouldn't just be handed the fucking title back.
Yeah.
So again, Phil's idiotic decisions have gotten us to this point.
Sure did.
You let Phil go into business for himself when he stage dived. You let him go out there with a microphone and let him go into business for himself again. maybe we should stop doing that. And how do we do that? By giving it to the guy who is the heart and soul of AEW. Giving it to the guy who has been the guy who's been there fucking day in and day out, with the exception of his sabbatical.
Mm-hmm.
Most overact in the company right now, with the
Hands
best stable
down.
of guys, with the best stable of guys that you can do things with. It makes sense to give it to John. Because here's the thing. When you think of AEW, who do you think of? You think of Kenny. You think of the Bucks. You think of John Moxley. CM Punk ain't in my top 5 of who I think of when I think of AEW.
True.
I think
of Hangman. I think of Jungle Boy.
I even think of Jericho.
Yeah,
before
definitely
I think
Jericho.
of Punk.
Tony Storm.
I'll let you.
Way to go, Craig.
Here, even better. Here you go.
Thanks, Craig.
What I'm here for. Dynamite droppings.
You know what? To go that route, I think of Jade Cargill before I think about Phil from Chicago.
Yeah.
She's more AEW than Phil is.
Phil's not AEW.
Jay Gross said.
No.
Call.
Like, Phil's
No,
just a
but
disgruntled old
look.
guy that Tony knew he could make money with.
Remember, in the comparison to this all just being ECW, because what Tony Khan is doing, he's playing ECW. Punk is Terry Funk. You know, he's the big star. He's in the territory. He's getting the world title, but he's not who you think of when you think of ECW.
I almost think he's more Mick Foley.
Okay.
Cutting the promos of, poor pitiful me because I got cut from WCW.
Okay, I can give you that.
Going into business for himself. That's where I think of the guy that I think Terry Funk. I feel is Jericho.
Okay,
in the world
I'll give
title
you that.
Picture.
All right,
I'll give you that. But here's my thing. Like, it still stands true though, because like if someone said to you right now, name 4 ECW guys. Name 4 people who are synonymous with ECW to you. Go ahead, do it. 4 people synonymous.
Shane Douglas, Taz, Sabu, Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah,
exactly.
Dreamer, Dudley's, and the
Dudley Boys.
Yeah.
Sabu.
Mick Foley not registering,
Yeah,
even
Rob
though
Van
he was
Dam,
arguably
Sandman.
one of the biggest stars that ECW ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Punk. That's the Punk AEW story, hands down, 100%.
So while I
signed, sealed, delivered, I'm whores.
Yes. While I want it to be John, and I truthfully hope that it's John, the writing's on the wall that it's going to be Phil. And unfortunately for myself, it means that Adam Hangman Page is going to get fed to him again for the second time in the title match for some fucking reason 2 weeks later.
So the only scenario where I could see it not being Punk winning, and I said this to you earlier today, Mike, and it would also kind of explain why they went let's do this on TV next week as opposed to waiting for the pay-per-view in 2 weeks, which is, in Chicago. And
did Phil because Phil pulled the Bret Hart card? I'm not going to lose.
No. I wonder if Phil's not still hurt. And at the end of the day, I wonder if this isn't a situation where they were just like, shit, he can go out there and have enough of a match, 5-10 minute match, and drop the belt officially to Moxley, and then we can move on with our lives. But we can't do that as the main event of All Out in Phil's hometown. But we can do it a week before on Dynamite on free TV. No, it might get shit on a little bit because it was only a 10-minute match or a 5-minute match or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's still free TV. You can't actually be that pissed off about it as you could be for spending $40 and getting a 10-minute match where Punk couldn't even actually get through it, and it was mostly Moxley carrying him. I think there's a real scenario where that's possible too.
That's a good point.
To be perfectly honest. Because, like, wasn't it just a few weeks ago where they were like, hey, there's no timetable for when Punk is coming back?
When he was at San Diego
Now-
Comic-Con, because he was still in the boot.
Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, he's back and ready to go. What if there's just still no timetable and they were like, fuck, we need to move on with our lives? And fucking old man Logan over here was just like, puts out his like fucking cigar and is just like, I can tough it through 5 minutes. I trust John. Let's do this shit. Like, I feel like there's a real scenario where that's a thing that happens. Or that happens.
I haven't watched AEW in a while, but just listening to you guys, how long is his contract with AEW?
No clue.
Okay.
He's not really releasing
Okay,
how long he has people signed for at all.
Okay.
Not just Phil, just anybody.
He's
not...
43 years old.
Mhm.
You knew bringing him in, you're going to give him a title run at some point.
Correct.
If he's starting to break down now, maybe it makes sense to give him a title run over whoever you guys think he shouldn't be over. Because if his body's breaking down now at 43, how good could a title run be at 45, 46? Listen, I'm 47. Over the last 2 years, I felt a lot of things in my body change. So it comes quick. You know,
like hair growing in funny places?
What's that?
Like hair growing in funny places?
That shit started when I was fucking 13, bro. But what I'm saying is as
no, I mean like your ears.
Oh yeah, that shit sucks. But what I'm saying is as somebody who's older and not a professional fucking athlete like this guy, just imagine how hard it is for him at 43, getting the shit beat out of him every day. It is to wake up and be able to do it week in and week out.
I don't know the validity of it, but I found something here. According to Fight Fans, Punk's deal with AEW includes $3 million per year over the next 3 years.
Okay,
so he's got 2 years
left. A lot
left.
of money,
yeah. You know, give him the run in his second year, because what if you give him a late run in his third year? Are you going to resign him? At least you give him the run now, and then you got all of next year to really see how he is if you want to extend him.
I think the other thing they have to think about at that point would be where they're at TV deal wise.
True.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, maybe this could be a thing now. You know, you put the title on him now that the guy who he hated in WWE is now in charge. Put the title on him in AEW. They have no problem talking about WWE and AEW.
Right.
You know.
And when Phil wins, and when Phil does that, as I mentioned when I said what does Triple H not need to do?
Is retaliate.
Exactly.
No,
I don't think he does.
No, you be the better person.
You know what? Go let 42-year-old Phil from Chicago hold your show, Hijack. I had to deal with him when he was fucking 35 and actually was a decent professional wrestler. Now he's breaking down worse than fucking Sting. And guess what? Go fucking pay that guy.
And like
money.
you said, Sting is older, but they're not putting Sting on the title run. Sting is just there for the thrill of it.
Sting, I would almost rather see Sting as a world champion than Punk right now.
Sting is more so doing it for the.
I'll say this,
but I think
I'm hoping
Sting with the title.
I'm hoping that Moxley wins, because if I'm being honest, as much as I think that the interim title thing was stupid, you know how I feel about that. I thought it was stupid from the start. I've really enjoyed Moxley's title run. I've enjoyed it more than I think I would have enjoyed Punk's title run for the last few months if it actually existed. I think Mox's title run has been really fun, and I don't want to see it end. Honestly, that's my whole reasoning.
Too, is Moxley can go out and wrestle at a GCW event on a Saturday night and still be ready to go on a Wednesday night on Dynamite.
Right.
Phil wrestles on a Dynamite. He can't wrestle for another 3 weeks because he's got to get his body ready again.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's the problem with the CM Punk world title reign.
Well, I think the other
a lot of Bengay.
Yeah. Yeah. Not surprised there. When I think about it also and thinking about the runs, you know, I do
Who's
think
got the
that,
runs?
No. I do think that Phil from Chicago wins. I hope that it's not Paige this next because I don't want Paige to get fed to him twice. What I would prefer it be, and this is going to sound, it's going to come off a little weird, and that's fine. Give me Punk versus like Wheeler Yuta.
Just because you're just feeding somebody to him?
Phil walks in, takes out Mox, beats him up after the match is over. Blackpool Combat Club comes out. You're not going to feed him Claudio. He's the Ring of Honor World Champion.
Right.
Yuta steps to the plate, challenges him.
What about Brian?
I think that we're getting more Brian and Garcia.
Probably, but
Yuta's the guy that if he goes out there and loses in a 15-20 minute star making match in the middle of the show, I don't think it hurts him.
But dude, like, okay. So let's pretend you have tickets to WrestleMania.
Yep.
And 3 weeks before WrestleMania, they take Brock and Roman off of WrestleMania.
I'll buy tickets then.
And then Roman wins, and they give us Roman versus, now take your personal feelings aside, Mike, Ricochet. Like, to me, that's the equivalent of giving me Punk versus Wheeler Yuta.
I feel like you need to go a little worse than that because at least Roman versus Ricochet could be a fun 15-minute match.
Okay.
Right.
Well, no, I'm thinking people who are on the roster now.
I mean, you tell me it's.
I'm just looking at like status on the card. Like,
no, tell me it's Roman Reigns versus
Austin Theory.
No, because they're actually pushing him.
Yeah.
Angelo Dawkins.
Jinder Mahal.
Angelo Dawkins.
Yeah. If in 3 weeks they go, it's Roman versus Jinder.
Yeah, to me that's the equivalent of what they're giving us. It's a guy who's not in the main title picture, not even really in any AEW/WWE title picture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get he's toying around with Ring of Honor titles, but that's a whole nother battle in and of itself. And you're giving me that for the WrestleMania equivalent main event.
Almost.
Like,
I've sat through worse.
Oh, I'm not saying there hasn't been worse, but
I bought WrestleMania tickets for LA with 0 matches announced.
Correct. But also, this is what your 15th WrestleMania.
See, but here's the thing. I don't think you can compare WrestleMania to All Out.
No, but
it's like
All Out is
Jim, it's like buying Super Bowl tickets years in advance. You're getting the best.
No, I know. It's not a direct comparison, but All Out is AEW's biggest pay-per-view of the year. It's their quote unquote WrestleMania.
It's bigger than Double or Nothing?
I think Double or Nothing is there.
All Out's the show. Like, All Out is really the show that was the start of the revolution with All In.
Well, then they're really fucking us this year because they've turned their WrestleMania into Survivor Series.
Right, and that's my point. I don't think.
Okay, then what's the alternative?
Sadly, it's Hangman.
You know what would be
amusing?
But
a 2-week build to the rematch doesn't do it. It doesn't do anything.
You know, it'd be amusing. You know how in WCW, I feel like we all considered Starrcade to be the WrestleMania, and like in the years, like the recent years, a number of WCW people, both behind the scenes and in front of the camera, have said, "Nah, internally, we always considered Halloween Havoc to be our WrestleMania."
Yeah,
like,
they're liars.
What if Tony Khan is just like, motherfucker, Full Gear is the show? Like,
what about War Games?
I mean, that's where they did the exploding ring, right?
In War
Yeah.
War games! War games! War games!
So here's the thing, and this is, again, I'm gonna circle back, and I'm gonna push the Wheeler Yuter train here, okay? And you can insert a different person into the Yuter spotlight. And here's the reason why Phil from Chicago v. Wheeler Yuta makes sense, because that match does not have to main event the show, because the main event of the show will be the Omega Bucks versus the Undisputed Elite for the 6-man tag titles.
Okay.
You close with that. You don't have to close with your world title match. You're going to disrespect Hangman and have him lose twice to Phil, once in the main event where it was botched all fucking through hell and back, and then have him losing the opening match. Here's the thing. Give him anybody else in the world that you want to give him. Give him Daniel Garcia.
But see, you're also at a point now where Tony's trying to salvage a disgruntled Phil. So if Phil has a problem with Hangman, like,
see, but then if I'm Adam Page, why? I'm not talking Hangman Page. I'm talking that guy that lives down there in Southern Virginia, lives and dies cowboy shit.
Diamond Dallas?
Yes. If you know that he has a problem with you and he's not putting you over, and the last match that you guys had was dog shit, as it was.
Oh, it was terrible.
You want to beat me again, and you want to sandbag me again because you don't want to put me over? I'm going to sit this one out. You already lost one of your best acts because you're a fucking internet mark. Round 2, bitch.
Dang.
Because here's the thing. We've said it in the group chat, and I'm not going to hold any punches about it. Tony's too much of a friend than a boss.
Oh yeah, I say it in the group chat that nobody respects Tony. Very few people in that company actually respect Tony Khan.
So if you're
it's
Adam
growing
Page,
increasingly evident.
So if you're Adam Page, why do I want to do anything to help disgruntled Phil?
I don't know.
Because I was the guy who, carried the company, for
I can't wait till some of these big guys start asking for their release. I really fucking can't.
Because, I mean, at this point, I would almost rather you give me Darby Allin versus fucking Phil from Chicago than Hangman Page.
Oh my god, I think I just thought of a topic for next week unless, anything more interesting comes along.
Okay, Cliffhanger, what is it?
Cliffhanger would be a great wrestler's name, just for the record. Like a really tall guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think next week my topic's going to be which AEW wrestler do you think is going to be the first one to ask for his release to go back to WWE?
Easy. MJF already did.
Yeah, he already tried that.
No. It has to be someone going back.
Gotcha.
You fucking mark!
See, here's the thing. MJF did that. We haven't seen him since. What happens if Adam decides to do the same thing? It just goes away.
God, I would love it.
And we just watch the foundation just crack more and more and more. Because here's the thing. Let Phil be the cancer that kills this thing. Because that's kind of what it's coming off as.
Mm-hmm.
If Phil wins, I don't know who you feed him. Because an Adam Hangman Page Phil from Chicago match does not move the needle. We've seen it. It was dog shit.
Yeah.
Wasn't good. You tell me that Jon Moxley wins Wednesday night, Adam Hangman Page comes out and goes, I didn't get my rematch. I'm number 1 in the rankings. Let's ride. All right, then. Let's fucking go. Because unless Adam Page gets his win back at All Out, which, again, don't think it's going to happen because Phil's not losing in fucking Chicago, nor is he getting booed in fucking Chicago, but he's the heel.
Oh, dude, it's all silly. And I keep seeing people say, like, you know, well, what if they're doing this so Punk wins and then MJF comes out? Where's the logic in that? So you have disgruntled, angry heel Phil versus disgruntled, angry MJF, who's the biggest heel in your company. So you're gonna
That
go
everybody's gonna cheer.
Right. So you're gonna go heel versus heel. Somebody's got to get cheered. So you're now, because Punk's getting booed either way this Wednesday. Let's be honest. With all the blood,
is that hold on? Is that match in Cincinnati?
Cleveland.
Yeah. There's no chance. There's no chance. There's no chance because John's from Cincinnati. There's no chance that Phil gets cheered.
Yeah. Moxley's from Ohio. The show's in Cleveland. Mox is definitely getting cheered, and with everything else going around, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about it over the coming days. Yeah, I mean, Punk's getting booed, but what are you going to say? Are you really going to sacrifice heel MJF to make him a face because Phil's boo-boo face now? Like, that doesn't add up. So you don't have MJF. It shouldn't be, but I could see them very easily just going back to the Hangman well for All Out.
I sent this in the group text. It got mixed reactions, and I expected it to. Bring back Tanahashi.
I don't think that doesn't move the needle either. I mean, I get
it moves it more than a rematch that we've already seen that's dog shit.
But it doesn't. You got to think of it. Well, I mean, I guess if you're thinking from the AEW fan standpoint, they're marks for New Japan as well.
That's my point.
A Hangman match, especially with Phil going off script last week, moves the needle for AEW fans too.
I've seen it.
I know it doesn't for you. I understand your reasoning behind it, but you're not the AEW fan that Tony's marketing this show towards, Mike. You know what I mean?
So here's the thing then. He's losing out on $40. Because at the end of the day, if you're only going to market to a certain amount of people, then you're going to lose. Because it's literally at this point, I mean, to me, Tanahashi versus Punk seems more logical than Punk versus Hangman, because at that point, like I said, you don't have to main event with Phil. You let Phil come out first. You let him fucking have his moment while the crowd is still fucking not fucking exhausted, and you finish with the 6-man tag match.
I mean, if we're being honest, what have they really gained over the years? They haven't gained a whole lot of new I mean, they're still they're capped at 900. Now they'll clear $1 million this week.
Sure,
but they won't sustain it because they never do. They don't gain anything. Like every Keith Lee signing, every Adam Cole signing. Well, this is going to be the game changer. CM Punk coming back. This is going to be the game changer. You can't pay people to watch Rampage and Dynamite's, and here's the thing. They're doing fine business wise because they're the number 1 or number 2 show on cable every week. So they're not going to lose their TV.
Nope.
But they're not gaining anybody. So this the fake quote unquote war that Tony wants just is never going to be a thing. But yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, by the time we're back here next week, I mean we're going to have a lot more answers than we have right now. I would prefer. I think Moxley realistically is the better choice, but it's going to be Punk 100%. Unless he no shows, maybe that'll still happen. Maybe he just no shows next week.
God, I hope so.
That would be something.
I mean, it's not like, I mean, we're just speculating here because, of course, he has no history of doing such a thing. There's a great clip going around today. I actually shared it from the 3 Count Twitter. It was a Punk Triple H promo segment. I think it was from like 2011, where Triple H just it was like an HR meeting done right there in the ring, and Triple H just eviscerates him, and it has aged very poorly for Phil from Chicago, and very well for old Paul. So check that out over at 3 Count Thursday on Twitter. I know I shared it out. If you have not, basically, if you log on Twitter and scroll back a few hours, you will probably find it, because it was out there in droves on Thursday.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, got the wrestlers of the week.
Yep, I got the spreadsheet right now. Who went first last week?
I don't remember.
Did I go first?
Not me.
I think I went first. So Joe, you go first this week.
Sure.
That sounds like somebody who's got a list full of wrestlers.
Oh, 100%.
That's why he turned the camera off. He has so many wrestlers in front of him.
My list is so long. It's basically black. I'm gonna go with the Bryan Danielson.
Okay.
I didn't watch any wrestling for like a week, so I don't have any.
Jim?
Give me still the IC champion, Gunther.
I will take the man who won his second consecutive G1 climax in his 4th overall. I will take Kazuchika Okada. Joe?
Bobby Lashley?
Sure.
What did he do?
Did he retain the U.S. title over AJ Styles?
I don't think that was a title match.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
a good
it was.
match. No, I don't think it was this week. I think it was just a match of this week.
Look it up. I think it was a title match.
It doesn't matter. You already said it. Moving on. Jim?
Give me still your NXT Women's Champion, Mandy Rose.
All right. I will go ahead and I will make my selection as the man who retained the NXT Championship. I will take everybody's favorite Muppet, Braun Beaker.
So
Joe,
I get the last pick?
You get your last pick.
Oh, right, because there's 3 of us.
You know what? I'm glad you're paying attention, bud. It's like having
but there's usually like 4 of us.
I feel like there's our episode title. Yeah, there's 3 of us.
I truly feel like Ernest is here.
Yeah. He's possessed Joe today.
Stuff. Who won stuff?
Stuff. Who won stuff?
All right, here I'll just rip off a couple names. Carmelo Hayes retained his title. Tony D'Angelo ridded NXT of Santos Escobar. Big Damo won the Progress title. Josh Alexander retained the Impact Wrestling title. Hit Row came back. Raquel and Aaliyah won their match. Jordan Grace retained the Women's Championship. Mike Bailey retained the X Division Championship. Chelsea Green and Deonna Purrazzo won the Impact Women's Tag Championships, and Brian Myers retained the Digital Media Championship. Go!
Yeah, that first one, Carmelo Anthony.
I know I should have stopped right after that because I knew you weren't going to go any fucking further than that.
Carmelo Anthony wrestling?
Sure.
Yeah.
For me, give me still
Gentlemen, see you next week.
Thanks, Craig.
Later, guys. Have a good night.
Right.
Still your Impact World Champion, Josh Alexander.
Ooh.
It takes less to get home.
Exactly. All right, my last pick. They should have been NXT Women's Tag Champs if they were both still together there. but they're now the Impact Wrestling Women's Tag Team Champions. I'll take Chelsea Green and Deonna Purrazzo.
Nice.
All right, so that's Wrestlers of the Week this week. Obviously, next week is the 25th. That will be the last week for nominations for the month of August.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. The September 1st show, we will release, obviously, the month of August's top 25 and where we stand for that. Again, right now, currently, first place is still the Hangman. He's at 74 points. Cody Rhodes on his heel with 72 points. Sammy Guevara, Carmelo Hayes, Brock Lesnar, Phil from Chicago round out the top 6. Everybody's within striking distance of each other. Should be a fun one as we come down to the end of the year. Jim, you want to plug anything before we get the hell out of here?
Yeah, I mean, of course, 3 Count Thursday, 3CT. We did take the week off this week, a little unexpected, but we'll be back. We'll be back next week. You can always get us 3countthursday.com, merchandise, social media, podcast platforms, all of that. Huddle Up Podcast, football season about to get underway, so we are back starting this Tuesday night live 8 o'clock on Twitter, Facebook, and our YouTube page. Each and every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. We'll be kicking off with the full college football preview and prediction special for the year. So make sure you check that out at Huddle Up Podcast, Facebook, and Twitter. Hit the link tree for the merchandise and where to subscribe and all that fun stuff over there. And discussions with the Nobody at DWAN Pod on Twitter. Discussions with the Nobody on Facebook. Dropped a new one this past week. Have another one coming up here soon. Have some recordings scheduled. So that'll be a little bit more active, I think, as we go into this fall. You can always get me at Big Jim Sports. It's always fun. Good seeing you boys. Maybe we'll have the tool back next week. I don't know. You gotta tune in to find out, people.
Joe?
I love you all.
Dynamite drop in Monday.
Great
They
work,
don't call you
Joe.
the best color guy in the game for nothing. You can follow Earnest at EJ Christian 7. You can follow myself at They Call Me Bird, BERN, the last 4 letters. You can follow the show at Take the Number 3 Wrestling. You can listen to me talk about South Florida Sunday Men's League Baseball, Sunny Days and Double Plays. You can find that on all your major podcast distributors. Championship weekend, got a chance to play for a championship this coming up Sunday. So if you want, check us out there. You can also check out the live stream for that stuff, twitch.tv/SDDP Live. Joe, don't say anything because I know where your head's going with that. Don't fucking do it. Other than that, guys, as always, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next week. And as always, everybody love everybody.